Hello, you absolute lovelies. It is the end of the year, and one of my favorite things about the end of the year personally is top lists. I love watching people's favorites of the year, like just generally, whether it's comics, movies, music, whatever it is, whatever they talk about, I love finding out what people's favorites were, because I might have missed something throughout the year, or I get to share in whatever made it my favorite too. So this is the comic book video. I love how many of you asked for comics. It means it's working. I'm talking about comics every single week on this channel, and a lot more of you are asking me about the comics themselves, and that makes me oh so very happy. Now, I read about 50 to 70 comics a week, and then every week on this channel I give you my top 9, and I try to make them the more approachable books. So if you're new to this page, please hit that subscribe button. It means the world to me that we passed 40,000 by the end of the year, and when we hit 50K, I'm gonna do a 50 comic giveaway of some comics that I've really enjoyed this past year. So that is coming in the new year, but please hit that subscription bell. And it's gonna be a slightly longer intro because I always forget to mention my Patreon. Over on Patreon, I actually give a letter grade to all the new comics I read that week. So of the comics per week, I read about 40 to 50 brand new, and then I'm reading like 10, 15, 20 of back issues in order to give context to news and things. So about 50 comics every single week I rate over at Patreon. It's like $5 to $10, $20, whatever you want to throw at the Patreon, but it starts at $5. So if you want to check out my Patreon for all the ratings, it's patreon.com/Jandreau. But this video is about the best of. Now, I wanted to do a top 10. I couldn't, not gonna lie to you. I read that many books, which means I read well over 200 titles every single year. So this is my top 15, which represents the top 10%, less than 10% of the comics I actually read. So these are the top 15 titles of 2024. Like the video, comment below. Let's discuss these titles and more. Is there anything I missed? Let me know below. If there's anything that I liked that you didn't, let's have a civil conversation. But most of all, if you love any of these titles, I'd love to have a conversation in the comments below. Let's get into it, our top 15. But first, 3 honorable mentions that couldn't make the cut. First up, we gotta talk about Alien vs. Avengers. This didn't make the cut just because it's a miniseries and only has a couple issues out, but it's absolutely astounding. Jonathan Hickman writing the hell out of this title, making both sets of these worlds mesh together brilliantly, and Asad Rabi's on art. This book is amazing. Honorable mention to that. Also wanted to give an honorable mention to Multiversus Collision Detected. My biggest surprise of the year. I did not expect a DC meets video game comic to be this funny, this original, this interesting. Multiversus is a game that I've been honored to present at cons. I wanted to check out the comic, and it exceeded my expectations. It is such a funny book. Didn't make the cut just because of the nature of the book. It's a miniseries, and there's 15 others I wanted to discuss. And then in the world of Independence, World Tree absolutely rocked me. If there was a 16 in this top 15, it would be World Tree. Just want to give that some love. That is the incredible James Tynion IV writing some incredible techno horror, crazy world of the undernet and inverted internet, this absolute corrupting force. The art is amazing. It is haunting. It is very, very intense, and I highly recommend it. Now, let's get into the actual list. Number 15, Penguin. Penguin is from Tom King and the incredible De La Torre, and this title is so consistently good all the way through its run. It was 12 issues. It started in late 2023, but the lion's share of its run was in 2024. And if you liked the Penguin show, this is the comic for you. This feels so much like the show. It is the Penguin being manipulative. It is the Penguin using people second-guessing him as a superpower. It is the Penguin being a force of nature. It is the Penguin outsmarting Batman at times, but maybe not all the time. It is a crime saga that is absolutely incredible. I think that this is some of the best Penguin has ever been in his 70 years of existing, and I think this title did not get enough attention, so I highly recommend you check out Penguin. 12 issues plus an issue 0 by Chip Zdarsky. It is a very contained run, 2 trade paperbacks or 1 big collection, or as I do, collecting the individual issues. Check out the Penguin. Coming in at number 14 is Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy is from G. Willow Wilson, and it's been running a very long time. It is into its late 20s, so it's been around for about 2 years, and I think each and every arc has been absolutely inspiring. It's looking at Poison Ivy as an eco-terrorist, as a Batman villain, as someone that is just wanting the planet to be saved. If you're looking at the actual character of Poison Ivy, she just wants the planet to exist, which is important to all of us, but it's the way she goes about doing it. So it's her morality and how we look at her, her ethics, her shades of gray. I really love the team that's been built. I love her relationship with Harley. I think Poison Ivy is one of the best ever looks at Batman villains of all time, and she's one of my favorite characters, so getting her in a book that actually highlights her glory meant a lot to me. Check out Poison Ivy, highly recommend it. Then we've got Grommets. Grommets is an incredible miniseries from Rick Remender. Rick Remender is one of my favorite writers of all time. He wrote Deadly Class. He's currently writing Sacrificers. Deadly Class is one of my favorite books in comics, in the history of comic books. This book, Grommets, is a love letter to the 80s. It's a love letter to skateboarding. It's a love letter to just hanging out, and it's a vibe, man. This book is a hang. I really loved Grommets. It is, I think, on its penultimate issue, if not just wrapped. I can't remember if it's the 7th issue is out or not, but it is 7 issues of sheer 80s glory. If you like the Tony Hawk game world, or if you skateboard yourself, or if you're into nostalgia or just hanging, like Dazed and Confused meets Everybody Wants Some meets Tony Hawk in this comic, check out Grommets. It is such a good time. Then we've got a pair here. This is cheating a little bit, but list number 12 is 2 sets of comics. 12 is going to be a combination of Uncanny X-Men and X-Men. Now, Uncanny X-Men is from Gail Simone with Marquez on art, and every single cover to this series looks like a classic Claremont Byrne cover. Every single one of these is so impactful and rad, and luckily, the inside is just as dope. It is a Rogue-led team. It is Rogue dealing with new X-Men, like new mutants coming into the fold. It is a beautiful relationship between Nightcrawler and Logan, Logan and Rogue, Rogue and Gambit. All the dynamics are fascinating, but the new villains and heroes introduced are actually worthwhile. Really digging this Uncanny. I'm really liking this post-Krakoa stuff. Then over in X-Men, we've got the sensational Jed MacKay, who done such a good job with Avengers, also did some of the best Black Cat I've ever read, with the staggering Ryan Stegman on art. This stuff is so impactful. This is like iconic comics in the making. Again, the covers are just as powerful as the interiors. I love that the X-Men feel big and important again. I love Krakoa. I thought it was great, but I love the X-Men interacting with the world at large. Cyclops feels like a leader here, and I love that when they come down to it, it is the tale as old as time, opposing viewpoints amongst mutants, and that's why these are paired, because X-Men and Uncanny X-Men 2 months ago just started going head-to-head as they go save Beast from being imprisoned. Really great Juggernaut stuff, really great Cyclops stuff, really just digging the world of X-Men and Uncanny X-Men, and they make the top 15 very comfortably, really enjoying those. Then we have from the world of Marvel into the world of Boom Studios, Something is Killing the Children, which wrapped out 40 issues this year. An incredible run of Something is Killing the Children. I gotta say, Boom does some of the best variants in the world. They have such a consistency with their comics. I bring up covers a lot because I know it's a great way for people to get a vibe, and I know you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but a lot of people do, and what a bunch of covers. This is an anthology archive edition of the first issue. I would not have an issue 1, just hanging out, not bagged and boarded, just got that in. But overall, the end of the 40-issue run they just did, there was some anthology stuff where they basically made it so you could read any one of these and never have read an issue before, and it showed the strength in this storytelling. In this character of Erica Slaughter is so captivating, whether it's in a long-running narrative, whether it's just picking up a single issue. It shows how great the world building from James Tynion is, that you're so invested in the world of Something is Killing the Children in the middle of an arc or in a single one-off pop issue. And I was just so impressed at what they did with issues 34 to 40, as I've been with issues 1 to 34, but I didn't know how it would work in an anthology setting, and it sung just as much as long form. So highly recommend Something is Killing the Children. We are in to our top 10s. Coming in at number 10 is Saga, which came back last year in a really big way, but it was this year's volume that really worked for me, that felt like the OG Saga. Last year, I really liked having Saga back. This year, I feel like I'm reading the classic from 10 years ago. Saga was on hiatus forever. I mean, look, they got a 69 joke in issue 69 on the cover, and they got away with it. I love that every single panel can introduce a character that you can immediately fall in love with. I love how much we love our legacy characters that we've been with for 70 issues. I love that seeing these characters grow up means as much to us as it does in any other medium. I feel like I've grown with these characters. I love that our lead is a girl that's telling us a story from both the future in a different font that's being written alongside her present, and she's like a teenager now. I love the teen journey she's going on. Alana, her mother, is one of my favorite characters in comic books. This book is absolutely sensational. It is a sci-fi space opera epic, and I think it's one of the best comics ever written. And this arc that came back this year is back to the bar that was set by the first 50-some issues of Saga. I'm overjoyed to have it back at strength. It is number 10 for the year, which is crazy that there are 9 above the power of Saga, but it's been a really good year in comics. Coming in at number 9 is me cheating the system again just a little bit. It is going to be the absolute line at DC. I'd made a rule that there was not going to be anything under 5 issues, because if it was less than half the year, didn't seem fair to give... I don't know what the book is yet, but they're only on issue 3 of any of these. Absolute Batman's on 3, Absolute Wonder Woman's on 3, Absolute Superman's on 3, but they are so good and so reinventive. They're so approachable. They're such a great way to get into comics. Absolute Batman is what if Bruce Wayne was blue collar? What if he didn't come up with money? I love the impact of Nick Dragotta art. I love Scott Snyder writing this new take on Batman. It is amazing. Then we've got Absolute Superman. And I say Ultimate intermixed because this does feel like DC's Ultimate line in all the best ways. I think Ultimate is one of the best things that ever happened to comics in the 2000s, and it coming back in 2023 was astounding. Absolute feels like this great rising tide lifting all boats of DC finding a way to reinvent their characters in a way that's super approachable, that is changing comic books, and it, alongside DC's All In, is making comics the best time to get into DC Comics. I'm absolutely in love with what DC is doing with these two imprint ideas, and they brought back Vertigo. We'll talk about that in another video. But Absolute Superman is this great story of Superman helping the entire planet and being everywhere, being more akin to a refugee trying to find a place as an alien outside the world, as not being trusted. And I love this different take on Superman that doesn't feel inauthentic to Superman, but is absolutely so incredibly different. And then we've got Absolute Wonder Woman. And Absolute Wonder Woman is basically, what if instead of being from Paradise Island, we had Diana be from hell? And Absolute Wonder Woman is amazing. It is badass in all the right ways. It is a very intense story. Like, instead of the lasso alone, she's got this insane sword of absolute demonic glory. The art is staggering. It is also a book where I feel like if you've never read Wonder Woman, you can really grasp what's going on. The combination of Thompson and Sheridan are really bringing in, this is a variant, not the regular cover, really bringing in a total different energy. And then the Superman stuff, as I said before. So I highly recommend, if you have never read a comic book in your life, you can absolutely get something out of Absolute Superman, Absolute Batman, and Absolute Wonder Woman. And we're only on issue 3. 3 is the newest stuff we have from this incredible imprint, and all of it is incredible. So check out the Absolute line. It makes number 9 of the year of 2024's best comic books. Coming in at number 8 is Public Domain. Public Domain is completely different than the Cape stuff we were just talking about. It's very independently minded. It's actually about the comic book industry. It is from Chip Zdarsky, who is writing and illustrating. And it is basically the world of comic books themselves. It is about publishing. It is about the drama of the gossip of the industry. It deals with Comic-Con for a couple issues, but it's really about the publishing of the actual books. And basically, it is the age-old rivalry between a writer and an artist, and the schism of creative control, and one of them wanting to sell movie rights, and one of them wanting just to make the comic book again, and wanting to build that with his family. And the antagonist is just trying to sell off everything and make the biggest movie possible. And our protagonist wants his family to love him, and he wants to publish with his family. It's a really beautiful story. It's very contained. It's very inside baseball, but I think it's still pretty approachable. I think it's a really good thing for people to understand the world of comics themselves. Kind of feels like reading a Wizard magazine, like behind the scenes. It's just charm incarnate. I really, really love what they've done, and I highly recommend anyone that cares about comic books as a medium beyond just the characters, check out Public Domain from Chip Zdarsky. Coming in at number 7 is going to be the absolutely incredible run of Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman by Tom King and Sam Peer is, I think, up there with the George Perez stuff. I think what they've done with Wonder Woman is reinvent her for the modern day in a way that is incredible. It is very DC-based. It is very politically charged. It is very empowering. It is very intelligent. It's very controversially intense. It has a lot to say, and it's not holding back in any way. I love what they've done with Steve Trevor. I love how they've built out Diana's world beyond just her as a character. I love Cheetah. I love all of the other, like, for lack of a better term, Wonder Women, like all the women that are similar to her, all beyond the Themyscirans. I don't want to give anything away, get used to build her up, but they feel like their own independent books could spawn from them at any time. It is so violent in its language, and it's so important in the message it's saying, and it's also, I don't know, it feels like a book about Diana Prince in a way that I haven't read Wonder Woman before, and I just love it. I think it's absolutely a book that every young boy, young girl, old man, young-ish adult, old woman, everyone should read Wonder Woman. I think it is so freaking good. Number 6 is going to be Nightwing. Coming in at number 6, we've got Nightwing. This is the combination of the DC All-In stuff that just launched 3 months ago, as well as the pictured here Tom Taylor run with the incredible art that just blew me away throughout. This run from Tom Taylor, the art was by Bruno Redondo most of the time. These 2 issues happen to not be, but the art by Bruno Redondo was such a good use of the different ways you could show things going through a frame and kind of like storyboarding in a really fascinating way. I really enjoyed the flow of the book. I also thought it was a great reinvention of Nightwing. Basically, he's a billionaire by way of Alfred passing away, and they did well, what if instead of Batman making these crazy contraptions and punching people, he used his money to fix his city? They tried that with Nightwing, and to some success. And it was really cool to see Dick Grayson using the billions to change Bloodhaven, and it was really great to see basically Dick Grayson do what Batman couldn't for a time, and invented new villains. It brought in the community. It felt like a very communally driven book, and then the art was like top tier. It's one of the best runs on a comic I've ever read, period. Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo's run, one of the best ever. But it's also a very 2024 book. It's very politically charged in a lot of community-based ways. Like it is the 29th of December, and I wanted to take a few days off, but I wanted to get this video out by the end of the year, so I'm a little fuzzy because I wanted to have some time off, and I haven't taken any yet because all the what if stuff, so I'm very tired. I apologize. It is one of, I think, the most important messages of community, because I want people to understand that voting is important, but also voting locally is important, and your community is important, and your town and your city, all of those things. And it's a superhero book that focuses on the small that turns into the big. And I think that's essential. And I love this book. So Nightwing, highly, highly recommend you check out. It is my number 6. Coming in at number 5 is Geiger. This is the newest of these books. It is only in its like 2.5 volume, but it's a brand new character invented like in the 2020s. Geiger is Jeff Johns and Frank making this incredible character that is in a dystopian world. He lost his family. He was on chemo. He was dying of cancer, and there was a nuclear fallout, and he survived by way of his chemo, but now he's a radiated, glowing man. And it's so fun and big and comic-y, but it's also an incredibly illustrated and written story where you, like, the premise of the character is so big and outlandish, but then the story is so human. And there's these big characters like his inadvertent sidekick, and that becomes so essential. He's got a 2-headed dog that is mutated and his beloved pet, and he's in this insane world, but everything is so real and grounded that the absurd works in this world in such a wonderful way. Highly recommend. Geiger is one of the best new characters of the decade. It is part of the Ghost in the Machine imprint that Image started in really big way this year. Redcoat is also great. That'd be a down the line honorable mention. I really enjoyed Rook as well, but Geiger to me is the shining light in this imprint and one of the best things out of Image, which is high praise because Image is one of those publishers that really makes consistently great stuff. Like, I will buy any Image #1 and try it out, and Geiger is a shining light, a glowing light in the darkness of a dystopia. That is one of the best comics I've ever read. Geiger, highly recommend, makes my top 5. Coming in at number 4, I love this book so very much. It is John Constantine Hellblazer, Dead in America. It's one of the longest titles in a comic book ever, and it's one of the best. I bagged and boarded most of my comics, so there's some stuff around me, and I wish I could show you how awesome these covers are. It's basically if Hunter S. Thompson and the writer Simon Spurrier, who's writing on this, did a bunch of reading of classic Americana literature, did some hard drugs, and thought about how you tell a magic story in the present America as a commentary on the present America. Like, this feels like some of the campaign trail stuff Hunter wrote. This feels like strange rumblings in Azatlan by way of Cape stuff. This is such an inspired story. I love Constantine as it is. I love Simon Spurrier's take on Constantine. You add in some Hollywood elements in the most recent arc. You had in, but by way of like traveling across America for the American dream, you get some, mid-America stuff. You get some East Coast sensibilities. But looking at the foundations of America and what the dream has become, but in the world of magic and the occult, and then you throw in some Sandman, you got some Man-Thing, but it all feels like this great commentary on the belief in the American dream and what that even is today. And the art is dripping. It's got this intense grossness that I really love. Constantine is hilarious in all the dark and depraved ways and charming in all of his ways. It's one of the best Cape books ever, and it is highly recommended. John Constantine, Dead in America, could not sing its praises higher. And honestly, any of these top 4 would be number 1 any other year. It has been such an incredible year in comics. So consider this a 4-way tie, starting with that John Constantine book. But going right into number 3, I got to give some love to the Department of Truth. The Department of Truth is second only to Saga, my favorite new world invented in comics in a long time. Saga, holy crap, got me back into comic books in a broader way than just the Cape stuff that I was reading for work. And then Department of Truth revitalized so much of my love of reading. It is about a world where if something becomes too popular an idea, it becomes a reality. Fiction can become nonfiction, and if enough people believe in it. So if enough people start thinking Sasquatch is real, Sasquatches will start popping up. And there's a department in the government that is responsible for keeping the truth by literally making sure they stay on a path of no, that's not real, that's not real. And then there's other opposing forces like the Department of Lies, a Cold War regime. There's a bunch of stuff about, in this arc we just got through, Marilyn Monroe actualizing in her own mind certain things with Kennedy, and there's also the elements of what conspiracy is in America. The book is led by Lee Harvey Oswald in a fascinating way. It is so interesting. It deals with the mythology, not history, the mythology of America, and it deals with perception and truth. And in the age of Twitter and in the age of deepfakes and in the age of AI, truth is so relative, and it is so interesting to see a book give you X-Files meets conspiracy theory meets terrifying AI vibes in a really, really beautiful story that is so messed up. I love the antagonist with the Red Cross Eyes woman is such a great looming figure of darkness. I love the individual one-offs like the Sasquatch stuff. I love the overall arching story that makes me paranoid and feel uncomfortable. It also gives me such joy because I feel so much when I read this book. Department of Truth, James Tynion IV, Martin Simmons on art. Good God, what a book. It's only like 27 issues in. It's not that far into the run, and it just came back after a hiatus. It had paused at like 23 or 24, came back in a big way with this JFK Marilyn Monroe arc. Highly recommend you check out this book. Please, please, please read The Department of Truth. And if you do, let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. All right, we're down to our top 2. And again, 4-way tie for these. But number 2 is going to be Ryan North's Fantastic Four. Ryan North's Fantastic Four is my favorite of all time Fantastic Four run. I love the OG Stan Lee stuff. I love the way Kirby brought to life these characters and the energy in that old stuff. I personally have a huge soft spot for the Mike Ringo illustrated stuff. Mike Ringo is the era that I see Fantastic Four as. That's when I really discovered them. Mike Ringo is one of my favorite artists. This is the first thing to pass that. This passes the Hickman stuff for me. This passes some of the Marvel Knights stuff for me. This is the number 1. Ryan North's Fantastic Four is my favorite Fantastic Four of all time because it is space adventures that lean into science in such a major way. This book is so intelligent and teaches you things. There's scientific theorems presented as just here's a comic book. There are concepts and there are experiments that feel so educational but fun. The characters are exactly how I imagine them. The actualization of these characters in such an insane way is wonderful. I don't know. I love this book so very much. It is the first time I have made Fantastic Four the top of my pull list every single week it comes out. It is some of the most outlandish stuff that somehow works. Like, you have science utilized in like a blood hunt event, but then you also have these contained love stories between like an alien and Human Torch, but then you've also got like a dinosaur Doctor Doom, all while actual scientific theorems are posited. It is perfect. It is Fantastic Four. It is Marvel's first family. Read this run in Fantastic Four. And finally, my number one book, and the only book that could beat Department of Truth, Fantastic Four, the absolute stuff, the only book that could be higher than the big return of Saga and what I thought Nightwing did, Geiger, Wonder Woman, the only book, Ultimate Spider-Man. Ultimate Spider-Man is a consistent A to A+ every single month. I haven't even read this issue yet. It's not back and boarded yet because this is from last week and I'm 2 weeks behind in reading comics. This, my lovelies, is my favorite Spider-Man in a decade. This is beautifully illustrated by Marco Checchetto. This is lovingly written by Jonathan Hickman, and it is basically what if Spider-Man got his powers in his 30s because the maker, an evil Reed Richards, made a world without heroes whatsoever, and so he had all the responsibility, none of the power. So he gets the power as a father, as someone later in life. And I love the implication and the question and conversation about, in the year 2000, we needed to make Spider-Man young again. We needed to have that sense of joy and wonder. Now in 2024, we need a responsible Peter Parker. We need an adult, and we need him to... It's just really interesting in 20 years how we had an adult Peter Parker in the Straczynski run in the 2000s that was so good. And now the Spider-Man stuff in mainstream isn't working as well, but this adult Spider-Man, this 30-something Spider-Man as a father with Mary Jane, reinventing him, giving him great reasons why he talks to himself through the suit, reinventing his relationship with Harry Osborn, and because he didn't get the incident with the robber at a young age, Ben Reilly's still alive, and he's working with Jonah Jameson at the paper. It's so good. It's such a great reinvention. It is so interesting. Love seeing these characters get brought into a new era. Love how classic this book feels at every turn. Love how I completely understand the way that story per issue would work in the modern day, but I still get surprised by the twists and turns. It just feels so authentically Spider-Man. It's such a love letter to the character while not being a greatest hits replay. I never know what's going to be the next issue, but it's also like, oh, of course this feels so classic. So it's an immediate classic. It's an instant classic. One of the best comics on the shelves. One of those Spider-Man of all time. I learned to read with Spider-Man, and this is one of my favorite Spider-Man runs in the history of Spider-Man, and it's only on issue 12. This issue came out 2 weeks ago as of recording this on the 29th. Highly recommend you check out Ultimate Spider-Man. It is my favorite of the year. So, coming in at number 1, Ultimate Spider-Man, 2, Fantastic Four, 3, Department of Truth, 4, John Constantine, Dead in America, 5, Geiger, 6, Nightwing, 7, Wonder Woman, 8, Public Domain, 9, Absolute Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, because I cheated a little bit because I wanted to include them because they're so very good, but they're only on issue 3, so I needed more time to judge, but they make the cut at number 9 with comfort. And number 10, Saga. Coming in at number 11, Something is Killing the Children. 12 is Uncanny X-Men and X-Men. 13 is Grommets. 14 is Poison Ivy. And 15 is Penguin. Those are my 15 favorite comics of 2024. I hope you enjoyed this journey. I know my cat enjoyed the snuggle time, and I enjoyed sharing all those comics with you, you lovelies. I hope you enjoyed this very long video. Let me know in the comments below if you've read any of those, what you liked, what you didn't, what you want to check out from my description. Highly recommend the Absolute stuff. It's very approachable. Highly recommend Ultimate Spider-Man. Very approachable, as well as some of the other smaller and even the longer running books. You can jump on at any point. Just get in a comic store, talk to the comic book shop owner, purveyor of comics, show them this list, and get some comics in you, you lovelies. I will see you all in the next couple of days. I was going to take a break. It didn't happen. So we're back. Creature Commandos drops on the 2nd, I believe. I'll have that up ASAP. I'm going to be dropping, hopefully later today, my favorite music of the year. A lot of you asked for music stuff. I've never done music on this channel. I'm going to give you my 5 favorite albums of 2024. Hopefully music goes over well and I can enjoy sharing that with you as well. And of course, my last videos of 2024 dropping on New Year's Eve. My 24 favorite films of 2024 in 2 parts. We're going to be doing 24 through 11, and then my top 10 movies of 2024 right here. So if you're not yet subscribed, hit that subscription bell. Please like this video. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought. Let me know what you're reading. Spidey and I appreciate you very, very much. We'll see you very soon. Say bye, Spidey.